Okay, today's video, competitors that you have go out of business. Have, discontinued items or services that they have coined a specific service, they have named it a specific service name, or they are long-term out of stock or as close to it, discontinued as possible. How you're going to be able to take these exact situations, which I call opportunities, and make money directly from them with very little work. So with all this said, obviously you have to be on the ball. You have to understand when your competitors that you have, I'll tell you up front that you have to figure out when they're out of stock, when they're discontinued, when they're out of business right away for this to work really, really well, respectively. The more on the ball you are when these things happen to the time it actually starts happening, the more money you're going to make. But respectively, most of you guys out there will have some opportunities like this. Some more than others. At the very least, you can use this strategy, put it in your back pocket, and use it when it does happen. Set yourself up to take advantage of it in advance when it does happen, with the monitoring methods that you can check for these things in real time and with very little effort. When it does happen, you can make a good deal of money for basically no investment whatsoever, which is the beauty of this. So it's not about volume as much as the ROI is going to be astronomical. Yes, it's a little bit gray area, but this stuff is totally legit to do. And I'm going to explain why. I'm not a lawyer. I can't give you legal advice directly, but I can tell you for what I've studied, what my opinion on things are in terms of doing this, trademark, stuff like that, how to avoid a problem, and how close to the edge you can get without having any problems, which is basically marketing and having ads show up for people who traditionally were looking for that discontinued product, service, company, and putting your ad there and just simply diverting the traffic to you instead, which there's already live demand, and the person's actively looking to order. In other words, you're just going to take their order. You're going to simply divert them. You're going to be the easiest thing for them to have as an alternative, so you get the order and they don't, which obviously they don't need it anymore anyway because they're out of business. So there's obviously a bunch of different ways that you can do this, and I'll explain what your options basically are. So if you got a competitor that recently went out of business, or if you got a product or individual service that a competitor offered that was discontinued, or you had somebody, like I said, long-term out of stock, you have a tremendous opportunity to make money by having PPC ads show up for somebody who's searching for that thing, whether that's on Google search, whether that's on an article, whether that's on a video that the company had up before, but is just lingering there. A lot of times people discontinue things and they don't shut down all their web stuff. Anytime that somebody's finding something out there or searching for something, you're going to show up using the power of PPC ads with three main techniques that I'm going to give you here on today's video. So with all that said, I'm going to get into the first strategy right away in terms of what I'm going to do for myself, as I found the best way to do this for myself when any one of these opportunities happen. If somebody went out of business, I'm automatically going to go ahead and set up a search campaign ad on Google search, on Bing search, which is about 15% of the search market on average, people using search engines and advertising opportunities thereof, for all their branded terms and trade names. So there's people type in their company name, what they call their company, what their legal name is, technically, all their alternate names, what they're called, misspellings, anything and all the variants thereof. And you're going to have an ad that just basically shows up at the top of Google for that. The other way that you can make money from somebody, the misfortune, let's just say, of your competitor, is to go after, in a similar fashion, any coined product or service names. So what's the name of what they call the product? What's the trade name? What's the trademark name? What's all that stuff? And have on Google search and Bing search, have your ad show up there. There's several main ways that I've done this, some a little bit edgier than the others, so I'll give you several options based upon how edgy you are. I've seen in the past where if it was a local like contracting business, where somebody would have a call-only ad, like a telephone number and a very short thing there, and when somebody tried to call the competitor, they simply would have that number redirect to them. And I'll tell you, when they do that, somebody answers the phone. If they're looking for a foundation repair service, respectively, they'll just start, they won't say, is this Joe Schmo's foundation repair? They'll just say, I want to make an appointment. Bang, you got the order. You may not want to do that. I'm not quite that edgy with things, but respectively, with that, by the way, you can have, if you are edgier, you can have a website that has their same, like, let's say the person going out of business, the so-called target in the situation, had a color scheme of red, black, and green. You could set up a mini website with that color scheme on it. The domain name is not going to be a copy or try to like a near miss or close match of the original website. If it's Joe Schmo's Foundation Repair, you're not going to register Joe Schmo's Foundation and Repair to try to literally trick somebody. But you just put, if you're Tom Hansen, assuming you're Tom Hansen's Foundation Repair, most people, maybe 10 or 20% will look at the domain name, but you have your ad show up there with one of these things up there. They get to the site, the color scheme is the same, so the people that have went to that person's site before and are now coming back to order, respectively, you have sort of tricked them, but that's legit. Yes, that might be kind of a shady tactic, but there's nothing illegal about it, and business is war. Everybody wants everybody else's customers, and if they're not going to take them, they're not going to need them anymore, why wouldn't you do this? You have the ad that kind of funnels people into that site, which they think is that site. They call. They're not going to, you're not going to say it's Joe Schmo's Foundation Repair to literally trick them. You're going to say Foundation Repair. That's literally how it's done. If you want to know specifically how I've seen it done and how I recommend you do it, Foundation Repair, you take the order, you got an order, respectively, that might took $100 in advertising costs before to get in that foundation repair market, because I know it well. It now cost you $2. So, it's not going to bring a huge volume of opportunities, but why not take it when there's that kind of 10,000% ROI opportunity exists? And so you keep an eye on who's going out of business, and then you do that each and every time it happens. And then in any given market, if you have 10 competitors on average, every year there'll be one guy in and out. And obviously a bigger competitor will have a bigger residual stream of traffic coming in that you can rip from them. Most of them will be smaller guys. You won't get that big of an opportunity, but when a big one comes out, there's a pile of money that's going to be made, because there's going to be people, the residual people searching for that company by brand name will go on for a year or more, 2 years, and you can get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs off of that. A lot of times, and you wonder why people go out of business, and like with all that free business coming in, how they would just dump all those customers. There's three business in terms of what it takes to run a business is kind of like a three-legged stool. You got to know how to sell. In other words, how to bring and sell a job. You got to know how to manage money, and you have to understand how to manage people and process. And a lot of times, people don't know how to do just one of the three, and therefore it won't work. It's rare that you get all three, in which the business will pretty much guarantee to survive for decades if you got everything there. And so they're just missing one component. They sold well, they were bringing in business, their work quality was good, but they just couldn't manage money. So therefore, one day, poof, they're out of business. All these customers could be now yours, which is what you're going to take advantage of here. So that's how I'm going to line up the opportunity from them. But what I'm actually, if you're wondering what to say on the ad, which is the trickier part of this, there's several ways to put the ad to funnel that business coming to you. One of which, if you're doing for people that are searching for at the company name level instead of the product or service level, company name, brand name, trade name, whatever, to describe the company as a whole, you could do XYZ being the name of the company. Let's just say Joe Schmo. Going and extending further on the example before I gave you in the foundation repair business, Joe Schmo is now John Smith's foundation repair. So that would be one way to do it. You're not saying that you bought the company or you changed the name, but you're implying it. That might be a little bit too edgy to you. If you don't have that much cojones, you can instead go with a quick alternative would be Joe Schmo's foundation repair is now taking, stand corrected, back up. John Smith is now taking Joe Schmo's orders, implying that, again, it's that company, but you're just saying it in a little bit more clear fashion. Respectively, I'm not a lawyer, but there's a point in which when you don't register your company again, because you could go into the Secretary of State and just look what they're doing with the company. If they don't register that name anymore, that's free game. There is no stealing anything, and forfeiting the company, and then later on complain that you stole their customers. Some people, just to let you know what you're getting into here as well, because we've done this so many times now. If you have a problem, that a lot of times that company goes out of business. They're in the middle of a job. They screw over a bunch of customers. Now you're going to get all that coming in, and so you may not want to do it. For me, I'm gonna take the good with the bad. I'm going to instruct my person taking the phone that I'm going to say foundation repair, and then you're going to have to say what's your order number, and then you're going to look it up and you're going to say we don't have no record of that here. This is actually XYZ company, and then be a little bit more upfront with them, which to say that they're at that time. And because I'm going to get 150 jobs over the next year from this company using this methodology coming in, I'm going to take them, even if it is a little bit of a problem with people thinking we're them and them chewing us out. And so, and obviously there's a potential for like a bad review, that kind of thing. But with all that said, to protect yourself, the best way to protect yourself in that situation is to do a separate domain that you're going to use to funnel this business in. You're not going to use your primary site. A secondary site, and I would do one for each competitor, because like I said, you could have the color scheme of the site match the person in which you're ripping the leads from. And then if they get a wild hair up their butt and think that they're going to leave you a bad review, it's going to be for site that's irrelevant to your main business. So you can tell I've done this because I've seen the potential goods and the bads and the flack that you may get from doing this, respectively. Like I said, for me, it's just about, am I doing it? Is this illegal? Yes. Is it? There is a point where it's illegal and totally unethical. I won't do. But for this, if you don't take their business, all they're going to do is go to Google and search for another company. And if you know you do better jobs and work than everybody else, it's your duty to do this for them anyway. You're helping them. Just think about it that way. But anyway, apart from that, going further here, or going forward, if they're going to search at the product level for the product name or service name instead of at the company name level, you're going to have ads set up for every product and service which has its own name, and you're going to do the same thing. And on that product, you're going to have some language at the top that kind of makes them think when they get to the page that, basically that you have that whatever that product or service is discontinued, but you have another one lined up. So you're not going to lie to them and make them think they're getting the same thing, because that would be over the edge, in my opinion, for sure. You are going to make them, you're just making it easier to find the alternative that they got to find anyway. And so in that situation, the ad itself will say, like, let's say you had Shiner's car polish. Shiner's car polish discontinued. Green turtle replacement item. So you're basically saying this is the replacement item on the ad. You send them to a page, and that same phrase is at the top of the page. if you ever want to know the proper way to do a landing page for a PPC campaign, that's always the formula. What they type in is what they should basically see on the headline of the ad. Not exactly, but close, handwritten, because you just, whatever, they click on whatever they think, basically they click on at the highest rate whatever they typed in, and it's closely matched to what they typed in, and then you take them to a page, and the headline basically just says what's on the headline of the ad, so it all lines up like that, and that's going to get you the highest response rates and ROI basically every single time, no matter the situation, including here. So you take them to a dedicated page of your site, so you have a separate domain dedicated to, let's say, that competitor's all the items that are out of stock with the color scheme to kind of little bit trick them, if you want to say literal, not going to hide it. A little bit is a little trick that, you know, the color scheme's similar without making it so close that you would actually have where it was, where you are trying to literally trick somebody. Just saying you make a site with blue and the same color scheme but with a different layout isn't actually copying them. So what you do is you put that at the top of the page. Therefore, they say, okay, this product's not in stock anymore. Some people obviously will go back to Google, but I'll just go ahead and buy this item because I'm tired. People underestimate how tired and on autopilot people are when they're using Google search. A lot of times they'll just read that and they'll be like, oh, okay, buy. They're not even going to think critically about what you're doing because they're already tired. They just want an easy solution. Some people that go back to Google, they'll just go back to your site later on because you've made the job easy of ordering the equivalent and just going to take your word for it because it's the easy out for them. If you don't want to do that, there's a less edgier way that you can make the ad in the headline on this landing page that you set up to divert traffic that would buy an equivalent item, which will now go buy your item or dedicated service that kind of takes the place of the competitor service that went out of that was discontinued or long-term out of stock. You could say, assuming I forgot what I mentioned for an example product here, Jimmy's. So it's kind of a little bit very. Let's say the product that I'm trying to sell, and itself is Jimmy's Extra. So Jimmy's Extra equivalent for, and here's the name of the discontinued competitor's product, Floyd's top, coatings. So you're basically it's almost like you're just saying it as if you were saying it to a friend. You're helping that person out. Here's the product that's the equivalent for the product you were looking for. Oh, I'll click on that. And then they get to your page and you say it at the top of the page again. Then you have a product there, and then they immediately start the process of buying your product. Even if only half of the people just don't hesitate and just keep going through the grease chute you made for them there, that's still a ton of money. Obviously, you can have hundreds of searches for an item that was discontinued, that was popular and ran for many years. With equivalently, all you have to do is one ad that targets the specific keywords surrounding and all misspellings that certain product, and a landing page that is based upon a template that you use for all the other products they have that are discontinued, that has that headline in the top of the page, and then the product page, that displays the product, and you're done. You're talking about 2 hours, 3 hours of setup time to have 100 plus orders with basically no marketing cost. So anyway, that's what you do. Now, if the company is still in business, it's obviously a little bit trickier. You have to be more careful. If the company's out of business, as you're doing what I just described to you, have a product where you're trying to say that the equivalent is this product versus this product, but the company doesn't exist, you don't have to worry about much. I've never seen any problem with any time we've done this ever. We've done it so many times. But if they are a business and the product is just discontinued, one product is discontinued, and you want to siphon off traffic from people searching for that item, because a lot of times, whereas they should have an ad that points people to another item the way that I'm describing it to you here, they don't. So you could be the one that has that spot in Google and Bing. So you are the one that siphon off the traffic instead of expecting that person to get to our site that it's discontinued and then go and do extra work to find out what they should buy instead. We're going to be the one that tells them, hey, this is out of stock. They may or may not click on our ad, but we're going to make it as easy as possible for that person to learn it's out of stock, discontinued. And then the best thing actually for situation is just to buy our replacement item, not to go search from the same vendor or equivalent item. If the person, though, back on topic here, if they're still in business and it's just one item that is discontinued and you're trying to siphon off traffic the way that I described there, or it's long-term out of stock, like out of stock more than 3 months, which is particularly relevant today with supply issues. People can't get stuff back in stock. You're going to divert traffic from people looking for that item that they can't supply anymore and have them come to you. My go-to that I'm going to say is see replacement item for headline 1. And then I'm going to put whatever the item description is. So let's say it was a high-speed blender. See replacement item, and then the actual the high-speed blender with whatever the main. If there was a way to describe that competitor's item that's unique to them, they have a unique feature. Like for a blender, there's a Ninja blender that has. You have your blender and there's blades halfway in the middle. That's like their signature thing. See replacement item for multi-blade blender. And then try to redirect them to our page that has the same kind of product with the same kind of features. If it doesn't have the same kind of features exactly, you could divert them to a different product that has just another blender. You could certainly do that. It won't work quite as well, but you get the general idea here. You'll go this direction because if somebody on their team, their marketing team, eventually sees that you're marketing for that product name that's discontinued, and they see that you put their actual product name in the ad, they're going to certainly get pissed and they're going to send a cease and desist. Technically that's a trademark violation. You'll make a ton of orders in the 3, 4, 5 months it takes them to realize it, and then they won't do anything but send you a cease and desist, and then you'll just stop. Or they'll send a notice to Google saying they don't want you to bid on that term anymore. But generally speaking, you'll make a pile of money and then you'll just stop. And then as long as you stop, nothing happens. So I've never seen anybody take it further than that. But that's what you're going to do. And then you're going to send them to, again, a page that says, see replacement item for multi-blade high-speed blender. And then there's a picture of the blender you want them to buy instead. So that's if the company's still in business. I'm going to go generally this direction on an individual item that's out of stock, long-term, or discontinued to take away some of the orders that somebody else was going to get because they had to find a replacement somewhere, and they're just and we're funneling them into us at the highest possible rate we can. And given, a lot of times a commercial click for what we sell by general name might be $4 or $5, and somebody who searches for it by when you search for the trademark, that might be 1/10 of the cost per click, which makes it such a great opportunity. So anyway, that's in general what I'm going to do to siphon away, traffic for people that aren't using the traffic anymore. We'll just put it that way. That's the first way you do it, through search ads. Okay. Now there's a couple other ways that you can add additional bonus money to this opportunity while you're doing it each time. And so for me, I'm not going to do just one. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 for that opportunity when I find it. Then I'm going to set up ways to scan for those opportunities in real time. So the first time someone comes discontinued, because like I said, the closer to the time that they initially start being discontinued, the more money you're going to make, because there's more. At first, there's more people searching for that item than there are over time. So the quicker you're on it, the better, and therefore you actually want to set up deliberate systems to scan for that in real time to really milk this strategy for all it's worth and to make a ton of money. If you do it all, you will make a ton of money, generally speaking, in reasonably high volume niches. So the second way is you find any and all articles or videos about said company or discontinued items in which we have an equivalent item ready to sell as well. So if it's Johnny's car polish, you type that into Google, okay, obviously, like I said, from our first strategy here, you're up at the top of Google before anything else with your ad that says, Johnny's car polish is discontinued, this product is the new replacement item. And you say replacement, indicating that you sound like you're the other company, but there's no rule that you can't say that you're the replacement. But you'll find in ranking organically some articles about that particular product sometimes. More so, that'll be article when somebody types in the parent company name, and then they'll have an article. Generally, on most sites that have articles on it, there'll be ad spots. And if they have ad spots, you can go to Google, your Google Ads account. You can start up a Google display campaign. You can search for under the display options. You could type in the URL of the domain in which you found the article on. And then you can have that as a targeting option, but you also add an and targeting option, which you're telling Google that I want to advertise on this website as a whole, but we only want to get on this one article here. So if they're on this website and they actually have the page that has the keyword XYZ on it, so we're going to bid on a keyword, then I want my ad to be on there. So if you bid on this domain, which you found the article, and then you have under keyword targeting options, which would be an and, not or option. You're not saying this or this, but this and this. And the keyword on the site is Johnny's car polish, then we want our ad there. So then you're basically, all you've done there is just a fancy way to narrow down your advertising to only be pounded if it's on this one exact page. You're going to do that for every page. You set up an ad group for every basic page that you find about that company name that is now discontinued or high volume product. The same thing can be done on a video. A lot of times you'll get independent reviews. So there'll be review sites which you can have that have banner ads on there. You're going to do the same thing there, but there'll be video reviews on YouTube. And one of the things you'll notice on YouTube ads, since you're on YouTube and spend so much time here, is that there's banner ads that pop up on the videos. You could do the same exact technique I just described. You could say, I want to show up on YouTube if it's on a video about keyword and then the list of the keywords of the competitor product name or trade name. And the videos obviously work better for the product name because mostly if you're obviously on YouTube, you're going to find reviews of individual products, not companies, but you could do definitely both, because both are going to be profitable almost every single time. You have your banner ad show up for that review of that product that's now discontinued, and the ad will say pretty much what I mentioned here on the Google search site. You don't have to get fancy. XYZ product is so they're watching a review of the product. This product is discontinued. This is the replacement. Very edgy is not even the right word. Ballsy, yes, to do, but highly, highly effective. You're going to have the banner ad show up as the first opportunity there on a video. The second of which will be the in-stream ad. So you can have a video campaign on Google Ads, because if you link up your YouTube account to your Google Ads account, you can have videos that you have on your YouTube channel to be advertised on YouTube in between videos on any video you want. You could technically, down to the video level, say, I want to market my advertisement of this particular video on these 5 to 10 videos here and none else. Kind of similar to what I was describing here about you could say, if it's not on these 10 articles using the method I gave you specifically for that, my ad does not show up. So you could use the same exact banner ad for everything. As long as there's content about XYZ product, my ad will be on there. But there's in-stream ads, which, as you know, if you're watching this video and then there's an ad that pops up, you can click skip. That video that pops up midway through this video is an in-stream ad. And so you can have your video pop up during the videos of the discontinued item being reviewed, all the same. Just like the banner ad, you can show up on top of the video. You can show up as interruptions during the video, all the same way. Obviously, to have a video pop up during the video of the discontinued item, you're going to have to do something more than just say XYZ discontinued ABC replacement item. The reason why I say it like this is so simplistic that you can kind of, I hate to say the word trick, but I'll just say it. You're tricking the user into not overthinking it and just going with the flow. With the video, the more you say, the more you're basically revealing that this is not a legitimate, advice coming from the person, the company in which they were originally reviewing. Therefore, they would trust it less. So on the particular video there, you could pretend like you're reviewing your own product. this product is great. I tried XYZ product before. It was discontinued, and this is the product here that ended up buying instead, and it works great. This product works great. It actually works better than the original item. I bought the original item before, i.e. the item that was discontinued. It was okay. I had to buy another one. It was discontinued, so I bought this new product here from this other company. Worked even better. And just seems like an innocuous review. The YouTube channel can just seem like a basic YouTuber reviewer, not you. And the idea being they just think they're seeing this random review of the product, which gives them the exact information they need to know about who else to buy from and not having to go searching around, which helps them because they don't have to spend time looking for a replacement, and you gave them something that legitimately was better than anything else, which if you're not doing something better than everybody else in your market, fix it so you are, or get into another market. Because everything I'm telling you here, yes, it's manipulative. All sales and marketing is. But you should be manipulating people into doing things that improve their lives and improve the general welfare of the people, not tricking them into BS crap that they're going to buy that they're going to hate. I don't have any tolerance for that. But if you can you do whatever you have to get somebody to make the right decision in my book. That's marketing and sales in general. But that's what you do for the second method here. You got the idea. So you can do 1 and 2 together always. They both generally work. So you'll have a workflow or a board that you hand off. You put the instructions on there, and as soon as you find something, you immediately launch 1 and 2. The third, though, you're going to add with that is a custom audience. So you can go ahead, and they're called custom audiences. You set up through Google Display Ads on Google Ads again, a custom audience that's where you're going to write down all the different versions of your competitor. If your competitor's business itself, not the product or service itself, but the company name itself goes out of business, you're going to find all basically all the keywords you use for here: company name, trade name, legal name. You're also going to include the website domain names and a list. All the same keywords from here. You're going to put it into a custom audience, and then you're going to tell the same banner ad that you used here, you're going to use in another display campaign. You're going to say, this custom audience that I created here with all the competitor names on it, if anything matches out there with this, I want my ad to show up as well. And what actually happens there is anybody who searches for that competitor on Google makes that list, okay? Anybody who gets to a certain article about that competitor makes a list where your ad can show up, not as they're searching for, but up to 30 days after, which is going to give you a heck of a lot more opportunities to get that ad, a number of ad impressions in front of that person to get the order anyway, than showing up only just on the article, because they may or may not click on it then. But you could then basically, with this third option, have your ad show up for 100 more times after that, guaranteeing that they're physically going to see it. Because a lot of times people just won't see your ad the first time around, but they will see it when you show it to them 100 more times over the next 30 days on different websites that they frequent. Most all websites have banner advertising on it, and if so, you can usually get on that site with Google Display Network advertising. So respectively, that's the other thing that I'm going to do. And if your competitor, as a quick side, if you're on Facebook, you have a big enough competitor that does go out of business, you can, in the targeting settings, target anybody who matches that competitor which is going to pre-populate as its own audience name, and they have to have usually, a few $1 million a year in sales minimum. Usually you're talking about like 8 figures before it pops up as an audience. But if they go out of business, that audience doesn't disappear right away, and so you could target anybody who's been to that site recently or were interested in it or liked the page, and now divert them to you, which works especially good if that person usually has to reorder or buy again. But even if they don't, somebody who liked the page, they go to order, they can't now, but now because you've been marketing to them before the time that they got paid and they were going to go order, you've been telling them what the equivalent is. Now that's already drilled in the brain who to buy instead when they go to their site and realize the product's not there anymore. So kind of brainwashing them ahead of time, doing work before they decide, so you end up as the default option when they actually do go to order. So anyway, those are the 3 methods. Now, how do you actually find these opportunities? Because obviously it's work to monitor all your competitors in real time. To be able to do it right, you need to do it like every day. So there's a couple main ways how to find and monitor these opportunities, one of which is plain old Google Alerts. Type in make a Google alert for every competitor, every product name, every service name, every trade name, literally everything, and have an email sent to you the first time something along those lines gets mentioned on the web. Helps you stay on top of competitors, but if it's too overwhelming, you could do that plus discontinued, that plus out of stock, that plus out of business, that plus no longer in business, all that stuff. And so you'll get, obviously, that's not perfect at picking up every opportunity, but it'll get most of them, let's say. It seems to do a pretty good job when you do that. That way, if any of these opportunities do show up, you'll get an email the very same day that you have it happen. The second way is a custom script. You create a custom computer script. You'll need a programmer for this. And basically, all you're going to do is you're going to scan their entire website. So this is a web crawler that you're building here. And technically, this is gray area stuff. But it's going to scan their entire e-commerce site, let's say. And any item that goes discontinued, it'll put it into a database. And it'll come back 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. If it's discontinued after 3 months, bang, now you put up your ad. Or maybe you do it sooner. Or if it's out of stock, it also finds what's out of stock, and anything out of stock more than 45 days, now you got an ad that pops up and you use the strategies I gave you here. So a web crawler Google Alerts will crawl the web in general. You use a script to crawl each one of your competitors' sites, and you'll need a web scraper person is what that's called to build that if you want to find somebody that specializes in that. And they'll understand how to crawl the website without getting blocked and so on and so forth. It's technically not illegal. It's just they don't want people to, I guess in the terms of service of their site, technically that can be illegal if they say, I don't want to give you advice one way or another here. I'm just telling you what people do, okay? So you do it at your own discretion. I don't want to see the problem why you're going to it's just like walking into your competitor's store and just looking around. No, they don't sell these anymore. Why don't I sell these? I mean, is that illegal? I don't think so. As long as you're not hacking into the site in any way. So you can look for discontinued items that way or out of stock items out of that way. Both are opportunities. And then, of course, if you have a script, it'll be able to tell you what it is in stock so you could be alerted to shut off your ads. And all this could be basically automated to the point where you could even get out ahead of it ahead of time to where you had pre-built campaigns. So when something's out of stock, you get an alert and the same day your ad can be turned on, and when they're back in stock, it shuts off. I've seen somebody try to do that before. So it's up to you how much you automate, but scripting can tell you at least when the opportunity occurs so you could get on it right away. And obviously it can tell you when, to turn it off potentially. But you could go even further and you could build the campaigns for each main, like if you only have 5 competitors and they only sell one item and you sell one item, I'm going to basically make the move to have a campaign ready to go. So when anybody's out of stock, even for one day, my ad for that pre-built for that particular item for 1, 2, and 3 automatically goes on and stays on until they're back in stock on that item. Because, the market's small, I want every opportunity I can. So anyway, that's the whole thing. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. I have a lot of PPC money-making strategies, different ones on this channel. You should check those out if you have not seen any of them already from my channel. I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns that are guaranteed to work for our clients and which you may be interested in as well. If you have any questions or comments, anything you think I should have covered here or did it, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person that leaves me a comment or question on this channel within a day or two personally. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this inspired you to do something along these lines, pick up some extra ultra high converting, high ROI opportunities and orders, sales for your business in the near future.